Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. How are you guys? It's so good to see everybody in here. I'm so glad you guys could make it. Before we get started, I just wanted to say something briefly, and then I'll bring Allie up, and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about, okay? But I have pinned a comment in the chat because I want to be very, 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 very clear, okay, about what this live stream is about. This live stream is about the spokesperson, Tony Mathis, and Tony only. It's not about what we think happened. It's not about, that's why there's nothing hashtagged, although because I know that people who follow Sebastian Rogers' missing persons case are going to come and listen. I put the description, his description from the Amber Alert in the description of the video. I did not hashtag Tony. I did not hashtag anybody else, none of the parents. I didn't hashtag Sebastian because that's not what this is about. This is about Tony Mathis and his impact as the spokesperson. And I'd also like to talk about another spokesperson that we may have all forgotten about, but I haven't. So I just want to make that very, very clear. I don't want anybody that is on, because this is going to come from allegedly with Brittany J's stream that she did. And she had a panel and there were multiple people up there. It's not about them either. It's not about Brittany J. It's not about Cher, Voices Behind the Wall. It's not about Justin for All. And it's not about allegedly innocent. It is strictly about Tony. So if you guys could keep it to that, I would greatly appreciate it. I usually have a very, very cool chat, and I know that this is not going to be an issue. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring up my friend Allie. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. Just hustling and bustling all the school stuff, but
I know. Are they liking school so far?
Yes. I think they both love it. And the bigger one definitely loves it. But the two little ones, yeah, they're doing great.
Good. And you're doing okay?
Yeah. Okay. I'm surviving.
All right, babe. All right. So anyway, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am. I'm looking forward to this because I've wanted to give my thoughts on some of this for a long time, but I haven't wanted to add to the chaos. So I have talked about his case a time or two, like mixed in with other things, but it's one that you're almost like, do I even talk about? So I'm glad that you're doing this, and I'm glad to do it with you. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So the other thing I want to tell you guys,
I didn't say anything.
Oh, you may, there was some kind of noise or something. I don't know.
Yes, my earbuds died and I'm about to reconnect the new ones, but yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. So, anyway, the other thing that I wanted to say, which I got distracted by that, just give me a second to regroup.
What did it sound like?
It's like you have feedback or something.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, it's okay. I thought you started to say something and we like talked at the same time. So I wasn't sure if you had spoken. Okay. So Allie and I actually way back when Sebastian Rogers first went missing, we did share his missing persons flyer because there's a local Music City mom too. She's the one that let us know about the case. And for me personally, and I think maybe for Allie a little bit too, but she can speak to that. I was concerned that he wouldn't get any coverage because he went missing at the same time as Madeline Soto. And that case was all over. And I was actually worried about it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just became huge. And then now we're here.
Yeah.
And so, but I've been watching it, but it is a case that I have shied away from covering because I don't want to do any harm to the case. And that's why we're not going to be talking about the case. Maybe at some point I will talk about just the case. But to me, in my opinion, there's so little provable actual facts that we know about this case that I couldn't give you guys a theory. There's just not much there. And
Yeah.
so, I thought, so I'm just going to wait. But I'm going to cover, this was almost a 4.5 hour stream. It's like 4 hours and 21 minutes and some odd seconds. I was on a panel, Deets on the Street. If somebody could drop her link also, please, I would greatly appreciate that. I was on a panel with Deets. She covered like the first half of this panel. I don't want to call it an interview because it wasn't what Brittany originally set out to talk about on this stream. It had a different title and all of those things. I don't want to get into all that. It is what it is. It was what it was. It's done. So it wasn't an interview because it wasn't planned. He just came up there and decided he was going to be a derailment from the actual topic at hand. And that's exactly what happened. Although at the end of the day, he did talk, and talking is good. So you can figure out where people are coming from and all those things. So there's that. So if you want to watch the first half of this with commentary, go over to Deets on the Streets channel. I would check her out. She does really good work. It's not real. She discusses the trauma side of true crime cases, but she does do some true crime lives. And when she does do true crime lives, she's quite good at it. Very informative. So I adore Deets. She makes me laugh. And so, okay, Hazel Eyes has a question. She said, before we start, can I ask about your opinions with Bullhorn Betty and the negative impact she may have? Hold on. Why does it do this?
Yeah, so I think your mic is picking. It's doing. Your mic's doing.
I'm fixing.
Okay.
I don't know why it does this.
At first, I thought it was my headphones where I changed headphones. Like that's when it started, right when I changed my headphones.
No, it's the I don't know why sometimes StreamYard does this. Anyways, it switches.
Sounds good now.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So Hazel Eyes asks if we can give our opinions about Bullhorn Betty and the negative impact she may have. Okay. For me, there are really two separate issues here. Okay. As far as the actual case goes, in my opinion, she has no impact on it. None. No impact good and no impact bad. Unless she inserts herself into the case. Then I would change my mind. But as it stands right now, am I happy with what she's doing? Do I agree with what she's doing? Hell no. But she's not going to have as much she thinks she is, but she's not. At the end of the day, the people who are investigating this case are investigating this case is law enforcement. Okay. These are trained people. They know what they're doing. They're competent. They're the ones that are investigating the case. They're the ones that are getting the leads. They're the ones that are tracking down the leads. They know things that we don't know, obviously. And at the end of the day, the case is going to be solved by law enforcement, one way or another, period.
Yeah.
She has no impact on it. She's not going to solve this case.
I
None
agree
of us
with
are.
you. Now, I do think she could. Now, okay, so I'm just going to be straight up, and I haven't seen this full interview. I've seen what was on Deets. I had family over. I don't watch BJ like that. If something happens where I need to, I will, but I don't watch her often. So I missed a lot of this. This will be my first time watching. But this goes for her too, and no offense and nothing personal. For both of them, I don't think that I would snuggle up too close to Seth because you don't know. He hasn't been cleared. And having him as a mod, becoming friends with him, with Tony, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. I just don't. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Do I think she could positively impact it? No. Do I think that there's a potential because she's made this relationship with Seth? I don't think he's involved, but let's just say he was. I think that I don't know. I think that it could be bad, but I don't know how. I don't know that it would infect, it might infect something. I don't know that it would affect like the actual prosecution. Let's say, just for instance, I don't believe this. I don't think Seth is involved, but there's a chance that anybody could be. Let's say he is. And could it affect the prosecution of him? No, I don't think so. I think it would just maybe give them more. I still don't think it's a good idea. I don't think that you should be getting so close with them like that, but that's just me personally. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I don't, would I do it? Probably not, but I wouldn't do it for a completely different also for that reason and an additional reason. I wouldn't get involved in having any of the parents on the panel or anything like that, or be that friendly with them in that way, because in my opinion, for me personally, I would be worried that I would lose my objectivity. Once you know somebody, and and I'm only talking about when you panel up, I mean, that's how it started for me and Allie. We started out just paneling up. We weren't in the DMs with each other. We weren't calling each other on the phone. That came way later. Yeah. And, but over time, that's what sometimes can happen. And it's only natural that when you get to know somebody and you start to like them and you become friendly with them, and then eventually maybe friends with them, when you see people saying things negatively about them, it's only natural for people to want to defend their friend. And so I think that's how it removes the objectivity. The only impact negatively that I can see that social media may have, and it's not just on this case, it's on every case, is the potential to for the jury pool. That's it.
Yeah.
Tampering with the jury pool. But at the end of the day, there's ways around that. And
look at Coburger right now.
Yeah.
Look at Coburger and how huge that got, and they're still fighting to have it in Latah County. So it can be done. But Jen, and I know you won't want to get into this, and I don't either. But I do want to say, because I think it needs to be said, can she negatively affect the case? Possibly, probably not. More of the social media view of it, but could there be an impact on Katie, Chris, or Seth from other people on the victims that, as we know of as now, these people are all Sebastian's family and they're technically victims. If something happened to him, would be technically victims. He could have just ran away, then maybe not. But I'm just saying, could she potentially do some damage to the people that we should be looking out for? Yeah, yes. I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is, I agree that everybody is entitled to their opinion. Okay. And I respect the fact that everybody is entitled to their opinion. However, I think that based on the information that we have, that we can actually prove and we know is a fact, there's not enough information to say anybody did anything at any time. We just simply don't know. And I think the harm in pointing fingers, it doesn't matter who you're pointing the fingers at. It, at this stage of the investigation, is not a good idea. It's not. And Tony, I have to say, he does that in a very passive aggressive way in this on this panel. And I see him as part of a larger problem. And I want to talk to you guys about that a little bit before we get started. So I'm going to take you guys back a way, way long ago, back to good old 2020, when we were all stuck at home and Facebook kind of got too bougie and uppity and arguey, and everybody started coming over here to the tubes. People who only ever used to watch YouTube for like music videos, maybe a how-to video here and there, or, you know, the annoying orange, what have you. All of a sudden we're coming over here, and there were, you know, the big case. What was that big case, do you ask? Watts, Chris Watts. And I want you guys to remember Revelation, what was that? Revelation and the Reckoning. Who was the self-titled spokesperson for the Watts family. And what happened? She started a YouTube channel. She started out on Facebook, and then she came over here to the YouTubes, and she started out a YouTube channel. Nothing wrong with that so far. But she didn't just start a YouTube channel. She started a YouTube channel. Everybody wanted to hear from her because she had a direct line of communication with Chris Watts. And she spoke to him, and she spoke for him. So everybody joined up, and it didn't take her very long. And boom, what do you know? She was monetized. And she would go live, and she would have, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 billion hour lives. Okay. But the majority of those lives were members only chats. So she's, you know, collecting a bunch of money in revenue, in super stickers, in memberships. And she's claiming all manner of things, and people are believing her. And why are they believing her? Because she speaks to Chris Watts, because they thought that she had inside knowledge, and she had some inside knowledge. But whenever she would speak about the crime, the actual crime, right? And she would have all of these theories. Who remembers the horrendous reenactment? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys remember that reenactment.
Oh my God, I remember. And you're right. Everyone believed her, more people than they would have if she was just this random person, because she was their spokesperson. She was, you know.
And because when Dr. B is one of them, Dr. B, and I don't know if she was the first, okay, but I do know she was one of the early ones that went. Dr. B actually went to Colorado to pick up the discovery that they would release. Yeah. And came back with it. And there was a lot of stuff that was missing from that discovery. We all remember it. We all remember how there were things that we couldn't figure out why they were in there, but others weren't. And some stuff was redacted, and other stuff that probably should have been redacted wasn't redacted. It was a mess. So everybody thought, okay, well, she must, because she's the spokesperson, she must have seen this stuff. She knows all the things. She has seen things that the public hasn't been able to see, right? But then when you start listening to her, and she does this reenactment, which, let me just say this first and foremost, it was offensive on many levels, okay? But if you take the emotional component out of it, just put that aside for a moment, just put a pin in it for a second. It was highly unscientific, and inaccurate. Okay. You cannot substitute humans for volleyballs. That's number one. When you do a reenactment, I mean, it's literally in the title, you have to get as close to the exact conditions of whatever you're trying to recreate as possible. And she absolutely did not do that. She failed to answer even some of the most basic. And this is not like me being up here just being an asshole pontificating as if I'm smarter than everybody, because I'm not. I just remember 8th grade science and how we learned about, you can have a hypothesis and then how you go about proving the hypothesis, and you got to have a control. This is 8th grade science shit, y'all. This is not like, oh, Jen Lou's, some kind of scholar. Nope. No, it wasn't. So the reenactment was horrendous on that, just because, first of all, it was offensive to use volleyballs. That was just it was horrible, because it also, her theory was that the first confession was correct, where he blamed Shanann. But what she could never answer, no matter how many times I asked her this question, or anybody else, I'm not the only person that asked this question, but is, how come if it happened that way and Chris Watts interrupted, why did he not try to do any life-saving measures? There was no CPR. There was nothing, because it didn't happen. It's ridiculous. Okay. But then she started talking about this 35C. Okay. Which we talked about, me, Allie, Melissa Jade, Teresa from Criminality, and ATS News. We all had a very nice panel discussing the case and stuff that, we always wondered about, and things we wanted, answered and whatnot from that case. And we talked about what a 35C is. It's an appeal, but it's an appeal that's only given to people who've taken a plea deal. And it's very strict. You have to have a certain, there's certain criteria that you have to meet. One of them being, and probably the most important, is that you have to have new evidence. And I'm not talking about newly discovered evidence, like somebody went through the discovery and found something that hadn't been talked about or explored. No. It has to be evidence that was not available at the time of the plea deal. Okay. And so it's very strict. So anyway, she was talking about how much, Chris Watts wanted this 35C. He was ready to tell the truth. He was ready to do all of the things, right? And so while all this is going on, when for months, she did panel tours. She was all over the YouTube streets, all over them. And, she held all kinds of lives and all of that stuff. And she didn't damage the case. And the reason why is because the case was already settled. Chris Watts had already pled guilty. He was already in Dodge Correctional at that time. It was a closed case at that point. I mean, it was, she couldn't really do anything to the case itself to damage it, right? But what she did is, because she was the spokesperson, because she had contact with the family and Chris Watts, she made people feel as though something else happened and she had the key to all of it, and that all they needed to do was send their money, and because he was going to get a 35C. And this went on for months. I don't even remember how long, it carried on for. It seemed like an incredibly long time, because you know how YouTube works, 1 day is equal to a week in YouTube time. So, I mean, it felt like a long time, but it probably was, I don't know, it's 8 months, maybe 6, 8 months, somewhere in that neighborhood. But yeah, so she didn't do any damage, because the case was closed. But can you imagine, okay, put yourselves to the porch interview, okay, if she were saying the things that she was saying in 2020, if she were saying those things back in 2018 before Chris had taken his plea deal.
Yeah, she was pretty intense with her feelings and opinions, and it was very much anti-Shanann, and that's an excellent point. I'm sorry, it's inappropriate. It's just inappropriate. All of it is, and I guess we're gonna watch some of it. So I'm not point gonna. That one.
Yeah, I can't listen. If you guys want to know what ended up happening to Revelation and the Reckoning, she lost her YouTube channel. But regardless of how, and I know that people have feelings about Shanann's family. Okay, not all of them are good, but regardless of that, the fact of the matter is, I think that one thing that, regardless of where you stand on that case, I think we can all agree that Shanann never hurt those children, ever. And so to have to hear somebody saying that so much all the time, day in and day out, for hours and hours and hours, and then also making money for on it like that, I would imagine, I'm sure that it hurt the family immensely. And she never considered that, not one time ever, not ever. All right, go ahead, babe. What were we going to say?
Well, in this situation, I think this is very similar where, I'm sorry, but that Venmo, that for someone, okay, if they are your PR person, he should be bringing attention to Sebastian. He should not be bringing negative attention to you and bringing drama to you. And he certainly should not be encouraging other creators to do things where, like what's been going on, and that Venmo that was sent for lunch. So if people don't know, there was a creator that was going by mom and dad's house, and or mom and stepdad's house, and they had to get a restraining order on her, and the dad's PR person was sending her money and stuff. I just think that that's not the kind of PR you need. You need PR for Sebastian. This is far beyond. It seems like nobody really gives a damn about him anymore. And I'm not talking about the parents. I'm talking about, Tony and a lot of people covering it. Not everyone, many do, but it's just became this circus where it's far beyond him and him being missing. It's really frustrating.
Right. No, what's sad to me and what I see happening, frankly, is Sebastian is physically lost. We don't know where he is, but also he's lost in his own missing persons case. He's almost, and I hate saying this, and it breaks my heart that this is about to come out of my mouth, because it's awful, but he's like a side character.
Yeah.
He's like a footnote in his own story. Nobody, and I realize there's not a lot to talk about in that arena, because, TBI isn't updating, Sumner County isn't updating, and that doesn't mean they're not working on the case. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But they're not going to come to the public, no matter how many change.org petitions you fill out. It's never going to, let me tell you who benefits. And I understand, and I don't want to I just want to be honest about how change.org works. Does it work for some things? Probably. Does it work for things like this? No. And here's why. Because the people that you would be trying to appeal to are government officials. The sheriff is an elected position. The sheriff answers to his constituents. He answers to the people who pay his salary, which is the people in Hendersonville, Tennessee, not me living out here in the Floridas. He doesn't give a rat's fat kneecap how I feel about things. So they don't work. Ask Gypsy Rose how well they work.
Yeah. Well, oh God.
They don't. They set up a change.org years ago. Everybody signed the petition to get Gypsy, so that Gypsy gets parole. They don't give a rat's fat kneecap what the internet says about parole. Guess who makes
No,
that determination? The parole board.
no, you
They
need to
don't
have,
care.
if you want to use petitions, you need to have signatures, like in-person signatures, and it doesn't even mean anything. It just means that someone in, the government might take a look at what you're saying, but that doesn't mean they're going to do anything about it. It doesn't mean anything. And I am so sick of hearing, Jen, that TBI just doesn't know what they're doing, and they're purposely like not solving it. Or look at Summer Wells' case. There are so many cases every day that they do solve. If anyone would, I just talked about a case today, and just briefly, I mean, just that the young lady had been missing and her life was taken, and she was found in, and it was in Tennessee, but there are cases that get solved there all the time. So you can't just
Right.
point at, there are so many people who go missing all the time. It's like people are really unaware of how often this stuff happens and how many new crimes take place every single day.
Exactly. So this is what I also want to say. Me expressing an opinion about what I would do or not do, I want to be very clear about this. It's not me taking a swipe, a jab, a dig, or anything at any kind of creator. I don't have any control over what other people do on their channels, nor do I want to. But if somebody asks me, what would you do? I'm going to give them my opinion. It has nothing to do. I want to be very clear about this because I'm only covering this because I want to talk about Tony and his impact negatively, in my opinion, on it's. I think that. So let me just say this. The way that the stream started out, the way that it was supposed to be, what the intended topic was, is there were screenshots that have come out from a group chat, from a group chat that had Tony and some other people in it. The people that were in it, a few of them or a couple of them, are commonly referred to as the TikTok girls. They are the ladies that Tony used to go live with on TikTok. There's other names for them, but we're going to call them the TikTok girls over here, okay? Because I'm not going to be rude. I don't know those ladies. I don't watch TikTok. Anyway, so that was the intended purpose of the stream, okay? And it's then before those screenshots came out, and I guess the gist of the screenshots of the group chats were essentially that Tony and several other people, including the TikTok girls, ladies, women, whatever, the TikTok women, were working together in an effort to take down content creators that they felt spoke poorly or negatively about either Tony, Seth, or both of them. And it was basically a whole big group text message of cahooting cahooters. That's what it was. Then, right before that, what happened was, like Allie was talking about with the Venmo. So those screenshots came out, a screenshot of the actual Venmo, and in the note of the Venmo, it said for beating up the Bower Sox. That's problematic, because if you're representing one side if you're representing one parent, and you are sending somebody $50, it doesn't matter whether it was a joke or not. It's very, very bad optics.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why?
It shouldn't be divided like this. Chris, Katie, and Seth at one point there was a little hiccup in the road, but they had sort of started to get back on track and were going to try to start working together. And I'll tell you something else that got leaked that put the kibosh on that. A recorded phone call between one of the PIs, Heather, I believe it was, and Chris Proudfoot. And he was very upset about some things that the PI had alluded to on a panel, a live panel. Some things about Katie, things about her past that weren't really for public consumption. They should have been kept private. She didn't come right out and say it, but she did say enough that people put two and two together and figured out what she was talking about. And he was upset about that. He got on the phone with her. She recorded it. Did he talk to her harshly? Yeah, he did. Does he, do I understand why he was angry and why he used the words and the tone that he did? Also, yes, I do.
No,
So,
yeah. But
yeah.
Jen, I'm sorry. Why are they wasting any of their time doing any of this? This is ridiculous.
Right.
You should be, you know what you should be doing? And look, I've never been in this situation, but I just don't think that drama, taking down creators, beating up the Bower Sox, any of that should be what you're doing as the PR person for either side of a family in this situation. No, you should be reaching out to different news networks, reaching out to different shows, reaching out to different newspapers, trying to get events planned and organizations that will help you with that, reaching out to people who help people in these situations and having them sponsor some kind of organizations, getting his face out there, getting his story out there, not this.
Correct. Absolutely 100% correct. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can. No, I don't like that. Let me see if I can edit
so
the
sick of it all.
No. Sorry. Let me put it back how it was. I really don't. How did I? Oh. I don't want the focus to be the people on the stage, but I should have done this earlier. I'm sorry. But the focus should be in this square right here. None of the other people are the focus. Okay. I'm only going to address what his responses are. Okay. Are you ready, Allie? Should we get started?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
I have questions about that, regardless if it's Tony Mathis or it's Justin. I would have problems because just the logicality of that doesn't even make sense.
The same thing is going to get Don Wells fired at work. Like, did that bring Summer home?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And so, you're talking about a 29-year marriage that I have, a very good marriage. You're talking about a college graduate and another child that's 15, and you're willing to damage their livelihood because of why? You don't like the guy that chose to help him? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy act for sure.
So, when people have gotten to the point that they've gotten this dramatic and vile, or they're causing problems for what we're trying to do, it's very hard for me to want to go back and try to mend fences with them, because I wasn't friends with them to begin with, and they weren't in Seth or my life, before this happened. So when somebody shows their true colors, it doesn't really benefit us to go back and try to turn somebody bad good, if that makes sense.
Well, no, and I wouldn't think that would be the role either, right?
No, it's definitely not my job to do that.
Right.
But there's no questions. There's no questions off limits for me, as long as it's, as long as you're not asking me to, to share private stuff about Seth, which I know you wouldn't do. And
no,
long as you're not asking me to read Seth's mind or whatever.
No, I messed it up, and I can't push.
No, and from the way that you've explained it, you pretty much see that.
Yeah.
There's no questions off limits, but he didn't even know he's never even watched the flashlight video. So no shit, you don't care if anybody asks questions. You don't know anything. I'm sorry, that's just frustrating to me that he doesn't even know basic details of what's happened. And no questions are off limits for me anyways.
Fantastic. Well, let me ask you, all the questions we want to know about are things that you don't know about, because he says earlier in the stream, just like Ali said, that he's doesn't actually know that much about the crime itself, about the case, not the crime. I shouldn't say that because we don't know what happened, but about the case. He doesn't talk with Seth about that. But this is now, again, he's the PR person. PR stands for public relations. Tony, I'm not talking to y'all. I know y'all know what it stands for. It means you need to understand what's going on in the case so that you can deal with it. It seems to me like anytime some headway gets made, some drama shenanigan happens. I don't know. It just, all right. He's about to talk about something that's very annoying to me, and I really need to figure out how I can make this bigger, but it won't let me do it. All right, here we go.
We do support him. We do. I think it's horrible. And it's almost like people, no matter what the man does, there's always an ill motive that they seem to think that he has. And which is bringing me to this question. Tasha, thank you for asking this, because I've questioned this myself. Tony, do you think that the Proudfoots or the Bowersocks are paying creators off to talk bad about Seth to take the heat off of them?
Shit, I don't know.
I know that's a hard one to answer, because
if you had to just answer on your, not, if you weren't just answering out of your gut, what would you say? Take your professional hat off for just 10 seconds. What's your gut tell you?
I just think that's all far-fetched. I mean,
okay, that's fair.
I just, it's like me paying somebody to stalk somebody. I mean, we've all got families, and regardless of what I think about Chris or Katie, regardless of what I think about, law enforcement or anybody else, I mean, if I don't have proof, I'm gonna keep doing my job. I mean, you don't ever hear me hardly ever talk about anything to do with Chris or Katie. When I talk about law enforcement, you hear me say that I think my client deserves better communication and more answers, but I don't get specific. I don't attack a guy that's out there trying to do his job. I just simply say that I think the communication could be better. And I think that they should answer the question, are you any closer today to finding Sebastian than you were February 26th? And right. I think that's a fair question.
It is. I do too. I do too, because it's amazing to me that I'm really shocked that they haven't given us a press conference yet to kind of quell some of the rumors that have been dredged up.
Okay. Let me let's unpack that real quick here. This is how you know that this person has zero understanding of what a PR person is supposed to do. Okay. See, a prepared PR person would not have talked about themselves, because it's not about you, Tony. The right thing to say is that I think it would be saying, oh, hell, I don't know, like that. And then giving a speech about how it sounds far-fetched, and that when I say, I don't hardly ever say anything about Katie and Chris, and I don't hardly ever say anything about law enforcement. I'm not going to tell them how to do their jobs, but you do say things about law enforcement, and you do say things about Chris and Katie. And that's my point.
It's sad because I haven't seen this. Like, I've seen what we watched on Deets, but I know this,
we are right where it stopped, babe. I stopped it right where Deets stopped.
Okay, so it's such a disaster when you're just expecting the worst. Like, for me, when I heard him say that's far-fetched, I was like, shoo, thank God, we didn't go down that road. Because no, obviously, they're not paying creators to talk bad about them. People have their opinions. naturally, in my opinion, just based on all of this stuff that's happened and all of the panels and all of that kind of stuff. And there's been some really, it's gotten pretty gross at times, but that's just a silly question. And I'm glad he didn't play into it. I suppose he could have cut it off like even better. No, absolutely not, or whatever. But I was expecting him to play into that just because of how much they do say about them and how much all the people they work with have said about them.
Exactly. I mean, the fact of the matter is they're asking if creators are being paid to talk negatively about Seth. Well, let me ask you this. Are creators being paid to talk negatively about the Chris and Katie? Of course they're not. Look, every creator that talks about this case or any other case for that matter just talks because that's their opinion. Nobody has to pay that. Nobody's paying anybody to say anything one way or the other. People feel how they feel and they say what they say. Period. That's it. You know?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And Dynamite, you're right. Dynamite said we can focus on his words, but shouldn't lose sight of the context of how this panel came about. The reason this panel came about is because Brittany was going to address those screenshots. Okay. Seth was in the chat and he was upset about it because he didn't, first of all, she had hashtagged him and he did not like that he was hashtagged. And the title was something to the effect of our Tony Mathis and Bullhorn Betty coming for creators, something, trying to take creators down, something to that effect. It wasn't,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Let me tell you exactly what it was.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Momentito. Hold on, I'll tell you.
I knew that Seth showed up, wasn't happy about being tagged. And, it's hard because these are somewhat community issues. So you do feel like you should speak on them, but it's not true crime. And that's why I know that you've been torn to speak up. I think it is important at times to speak up on community issues. Here's the thing though, none of this is helping people know that Sebastian is missing, what he looks like, what he might be interested in, where he could be. None of this stuff, it's tough. It's so disappointing.
Okay, so here's what it was. The original title was Tony Mathis trying to take creators' channels down. What TF, which is, we all know what that means, is going on. That was the title. That was the original title. And Seth felt a certain type of way because he was tagged in it, hashtagged in it, number one. He didn't like that. And he also feels a certain type of way when anybody, doesn't matter who it is, says anything negative about him or anybody that's on his team. Those are his words. That was in the chat. So out of respect, Brittany unhashtagged Seth's name. And later, he changed the title of the video. And I got to be honest here. I know people are going to disagree, but I actually feel like the title that she changed it to is more appropriate for what actually happened in that live, because they weren't talking about those screenshots. They were talking, it was basically exactly what she changed the title to, which is Tony Mathis joins us to answer questions, because that's what happened. So I don't think that that's like a super big, huge deal. And I'm not like, it is what it is. It's not a big deal to me, and I'm not mad about it.
I just think though that this kind of stuff it's tough because it just makes things worse, makes the drama worse, makes it more murky in the first place to even I don't know. And there's so much misinformation that flies around in these situations, like when there's no information coming from law enforcement, and then you have all these sides and people that feel this way or that way. I'm just shocked that it's gotten to this point where these are the conversations being had. Is this advocate for Seth, because Grandma Sherry says he doesn't like to call himself a PR person. He's his advocate and advisor, basically. is,
that's worse.
you know, being talked about taking creators down and stuff like that. Like, this is freaking sad. There's a missing child at the end of this. Like, it's just sad, man.
Right. And I want you to know that he when he got up on the panel initially, he said, you know, just give me, he didn't know anything about these screenshots. Okay. That's also a huge problem and a big red flag. Okay. As somebody who is, you can put whatever label you want on it. Spokesperson, PR, advocate, advisor, whatever title you want to give. Okay. Your job is to know about these things. Why, you know, which is, I don't care. I'm going to say what I said on Dietza's panel again. I personally think that Tony got up on that panel because he wanted to derail and detract from those screenshots, period. He didn't want to discuss the content of them. He didn't want to talk about them at all. So Brittany tells him what the gist of the screenshots are. Okay. And he's like, I have, you know, oh, they're probably out of context. Oh, you know, these girls are just mad and they did horrible things. It was never an absolute denial, but we're going to get there. Let's keep going. Unless you got anything, Allie, babe.
No, I don't have nothing. I probably should just be quiet for right now.
No, you say whatever you want and whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
Okay. What, I mean, you know.
Okay.
I agree. And here's what I think,
You have a right
Brittany.
to your opinion, Allie.
I watched, you know, another rumor you've heard is that I was trying to represent the families of the Idaho 4.
Yes.
Which is absolutely absurd. I'll put
but
that
you were
whole,
there.
So-
Didn't you go to Moscow?
I did. I'll tell
That's
you
what
exactly.
I thought. Yep.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I never followed true crime until Gabby Petito, because I had a teenage daughter. That one kind of hit home with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I took an interest in it, and I started watching it when I was over at my office working. And then I kind of, you know, got to where I followed a bunch of these creators. So I kind of followed them right into the Moscow case after that.
Okay. Now, we all know how the Idaho 4 case went in the very beginning. Okay. So this is why I am very, very, I know this is not a word, but today it's going to be a word. This is why I'm very side-eye of Tony. And when he says things like, you know, I wasn't prepared, I didn't know about this. If you were on YouTube or TikTok and you followed true crime creators, because it doesn't even matter, even if you followed good ones, you ran across ones that also were, I don't want to say, how do I put this, who were extra, who did go down rabbit holes and did entertain conspiracy theories, et cetera, right? It's good or bad is, I guess, in the eye of the beholder, as it were. Okay. But at the end of the day, you followed a bunch of creators from the Gabby Petito case. Then you followed those creators to the Idaho 4 case. So that's 2 cases that were also very hectic, very, they were covered all the time on all platforms of social media. It was, you know, all the things. So for you to get up here on this panel and act like you don't know how to work social media, this is what makes me think that some of this stuff that happens, that comes from out of his mouth and things that he does, are intentional. He knows what he's doing, because it doesn't take, it's not hard to watch content creators, right? Of all kinds. You know, how everybody covers true crime a little bit different, but you can watch them and you can see how they cover it. And you can also watch, because of live chat in real time, the reactions of the audience. So you can gauge what works and what doesn't work. Stop playing with these people, Tony.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but this is just screams an opportunistic and full transparency. I did see this. There was a clip channel that has clipped this part of him talking about Moscow, and I can't remember who it is, but I watched it like today or yesterday. And it's just like the clip about him going to Idaho. And I'm sorry, that is just, it makes me think opportunistic. Again, inserting yourself right there, I just don't like it. I don't like it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't either. It smacks of being opportunistic. He bounced from a bigger and bigger case. And remember, he sat back for a while and before he interjected himself into this case. Because in the very early days of Sebastian Rogers being missing, the main content creator that was covering the case was Trevor Lee. And although he had, a decent number of people in his chats, it was not getting the traction.
Oh yeah, I
until
remember.
the parents came to YouTube. And that's facts.
What do you think it is that makes it spin out of control? Is it the parents come to YouTube and some of their own personal drama kind of starts leaking out in these interviews? Because that's kind of what happened. Or what is it that makes it, number one, get attention, but then number two, spin completely out of control?
Well, I think that it's multiple things have to be like there's almost, and I know this is so, I don't know, I hate saying it like this, but I don't know another way to describe it. There's almost like a recipe for chaos in cases like these. Okay. And the first ingredient is you have to have a victim that captures people's hearts. Because believe it or not, children go missing every single day, and yet not every single day do their cases, and they are talked about, get this level of attention. Okay, so there's that element, and I can't ever know. It's hard for me to know exactly what it is about the victim themselves that just people seem to, like for me, I'll give you an example with Gannon. For me, Gannon reminded me a lot, still does, reminds me a lot of my youngest son.
Yeah.
And so that there's something there. I think the victim has to, so there's that. And then you have the disappearing without leaving any evidence, right? That we know of yet. I mean, one thing that we know for sure, and I'm only saying we know this for sure is because law enforcement has said this, that Sebastian isn't on any cameras that they've found. Okay. So he's not on any footage. He almost seemingly vanished without a trace. Okay. So you have that. And then you have the element of the family coming to YouTube. Look what happened with Summer Wells. Don came to YouTube. He did interviews. And the thing is that the families that are coming to YouTube, when they come, they're desperate. They want everyone to know about their child's case or their loved one's case, and they want the audience to care about their loved one and the way that they do, to have as much of a vested interest in that and then being found as they do. That's their intent coming here. And what happened in this case is there was a tiny little, every family has a level of dysfunction. We all of us do. But I think the family dynamic that existed between Katie and Seth, I think that the emotions, the negative emotions were always sort of just there, right, bubbling underneath the surface. And when the situation with the GoFundMe happened, everybody is already stressed, emotional. They are anxious. They're having all of these emotions all at one time. And I think what happened is there was a question asked, an answer given. And I think that there was already a little tiny crack in the foundation, and that's what started to split it. And that's what ended up happening. And as as time went on, it got exploited and the crack grew bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what I think happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you said with Dawn, when they started coming on YouTube, there was a lot of dysfunction and a lot of drama, and there you have the element of this mystery, right? Of this vanish into thin air, basically. I don't know. It's just really sad. I find it sad for Sebastian and Summer and all the other kids who never even get a tenth of the attention they get, but it's sad for them too, because their cases aren't even about them at this point either. Like
exactly.
Talk about them.
I mean, let's just be honest, okay? The dysfunction that exists between the parents in this case is not uncommon. It's not even at an abnormal level. This, and I think that if the parents were speaking on a different, they were like, let's just say they were on like couples therapy or something, and we were watching it, we wouldn't be, so aghast at all of this. We really wouldn't be. Oh, there goes Allie. There she comes. We wouldn't be. It's, this is common amongst people who are divorced. There's going to be a little animosity there. If everything was, hunky dory, they probably would still be married, right? But whatever.
Dude, Jen, that was freaking weird. So just now, I did not fall off on my end. You were up here and you quit talking mid-sentence, and I was still up there, and I seen Bikram say, "Bye, Allie." So I pulled it up like on the YouTube side, because that's where I'm commenting, and I see that you're the only one on panel. So on my
Are you using the damn app?
Yes,
I told you about that app. That app does not work. It is sometimey as hell, and you know it.
It is sometimey as hell. That was so rude of me, but I thought you went quiet. I was like, does anybody hear me? Did Jen cut out for you guys? And then I see, bye, Allie. I was like,
okay. I done told you about that app, Allie.
I know, but it's better in other ways, so I try to deal with it, but okay. Sorry.
Look at this. Horror. I love this name. Horror Hose says, I almost coughed. Oh, Jen Lou, I just want you to know that even in the darkness of this nonsense, you can bring a smile to my face. You say phrases that my mama would say to me when she was doing well. Thank you for being you. Well, thank you for liking me for being me. I appreciate that, Horror Ho.
Thank you for liking me for being me. Oh, no. That's so sweet, and I love the name, too. That's a really cute name.
So sweet, especially because I be loving horror movies, too.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's see what else TikTok Tony got to say. Here we go.
So I took my family to ski in Big Sky, Montana for our family vacation. And when I just was intrigued with that, that house and everything that had happened. Because again, three of those girls were essentially, teenage or a little older, children like my daughter. And so when I dropped my family off at the hotel or at the airport there in Bozeman, Montana, they flew home, and I started my work trip, which is usually about 3 weeks. Well, I was sitting over in western Montana in a town called Missoula. And,
I've heard of that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And so I'm sitting over there I dropped them off Saturday, and I thought, I'm sitting over here on Sunday and I got nothing to do. So I pulled up my GPS, and I was like 3 hours from Moscow. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to drive over there and check that town out, see that house, and just, and my main mission was to take something, which I did, and put it on, the little memorial in front of the house. Well, I'm standing out there. They had a security guy out there, and they had a tent set up, and they had some media people out there. Now this would have been, give you an idea time frame wise, would have been like the second week of January.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to a guy from Fox News, and he says, I really wish we had a drone. I'd like to get some drone footage of over the house and then kind of over the Sigma Chi house and whatnot. And I said, well, I actually have a drone in my truck. If you'd like, I'll sign a release and give you, if you tell me what you want, I'll get you some footage. And so I launched the drone, and I gave him, got him what he wanted, and gave him the SD card, let him download it. And then I went over to the corner club to watch a football game. And while I was over there, I pulled my laptop out, and I thought, I've got some cool pictures and some video. I'm just going to make a tribute video to the 4 victims. And I don't have, if you've looked at my YouTube channel, I think I got like 4 followers. And I thought, I'll just put this on YouTube so I can put it on Facebook, because I got a lot of friends back home that are following the case. And, so I posted that video. Well, unfortunately, when I got involved in this, my Facebook was pretty much public. It's not now, but somebody went and took that video from Moscow and took it and ran with it. And the next thing you know, I'm trying to be somebody's spokesperson.
Oh,
so
Lord.
that's how crazy that got twisted.
Okay. What? So you're telling me now, think about the time frame here, y'all. He said about the second week in January. Now, Allie, remind me again, when was it that old Brian Koberger was arrested? Wasn't that at the end of December? Hello?
Can you not hear me?
Now I can.
I was like, oh God, not again. Yes, it was the very end of December, like the very end of December.
Very end
Right.
of December.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I remember right about, when did the probable cause affidavit?
It was the 27th.
Yeah,
Oh,
when
I
did
can't
that
remember. Let
probable
me
see
see.
that I feel, because I did a live on that, me and Dr. B did, and I almost feel like this would have been around that time. So you're telling me, Tony Mathis, that they had a tent set up, security out there, which, obviously that makes sense. It's a crime scene and they have to protect it from looky-loos and people doing all the things. The 29th is when
December
he got
30th.
Shay says that. Wait, we're both talking at the same time. Hold on. What are you saying, Allie?
No, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, sorry, my foot. Yes, Shay's correct, and it was announced on the 30th. Yes.
Okay. And when did that's the arrest. So the probable cause affidavit had to come out at the beginning of January then.
Maybe January 4th. Something happened on the 4th. Let me see. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see.
So bottom line is, likely Tony was out there after this. Obviously, it was definitely after the arrest, right? But you're telling me that there's all kinds of media out there, and ain't none of them have a drone, Tony?
Extradited on the 4th.
Okay.
And then the 5th was the court documents.
Okay.
And the 12th,
on top of
he has.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
On the
court
12th,
on the
what,
12th.
babe? He had court on the 12th. And then on top of all of it, you haul your cookies down to the corner bar. What's that's the name of it. Where they all hung out just to go watch a game. But this was all coincidental and accidentally, and you cannot figure out how people found out about this and now have their eyebrow raised. But you followed Gabby Petito, and the creators that you followed from Gabby Petito, you followed them right into the Idaho 4. And this is shocking to you, how people are like, huh? Shut up, Tony. That's ridiculous. See, this is why I'm annoyed with him. So much detail. He could have said, look, I was interested in the case. I went down there. I took some drone footage. I gave it to one of the news outlets. I went and watched a ball game. He gives more longer Miss America answers than I do. And that's saying something. Ugh.
And that video, by the way, is still on my YouTube channel.
He
Oh,
knows he's wrong.
You know what happened with Caleb?
oh, that video, by the way, is still on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So what
And
are
the
we
reason
doing?
he does that is,
Go ahead, Allie.
sorry,
Go ahead.
Jen,
No, go ahead.
is he knows he's wrong. That's why he's over explaining, because he knows.
He knows.
Don't look
He
very
knows
good.
he's wrong. But here he's like, but oh, by the way, still on my YouTube channel. And I was really pissed when people took it off of the Facebook, which did they take it off your Facebook, Tony, or did they take it off your YouTube channel? Because you just said it's on your YouTube channel. Huh. How'd that happen, buddy?
Good point. Yeah. It was on my Facebook, which was public. It's private now. Oh, but it's still on my YouTube channel.
Buddy. Right. So yeah,
talking
you think I'm going to go over there to your YouTube channel and check out your drone footage? No, I'm not. Ridiculous.
Caleb Harris's social medias, his TikTok and stuff, after he went missing, apparently. So there's a comment here, caught my eye. Ask about Caleb Harris TikTok being taken over after it was monetized.
So
what's that mean?
First off, it was never monetized. Yeah. I started that.
All right. We're going to listen to this story. I want you to remember what he says right here at the very beginning. And also welcome into everybody who's just joining us. Thank you for the Jade Raid. Here it comes. It was never monetized. Okay. Brace yourselves. Just keep that, put a little pin in that. Remember that he said it was never monetized.
A TikTok account. Cindy on TikTok helped me get that started.
Oh, I didn't follow that case, so I was just asking.
I built that account up to, I don't know, 9,000 or 10,000 followers. When I named it, Find Caleb Harris or whatever it was back then. When I quit representing Randy, my goal was to turn that TikTok account over to Randy. Randy told me to keep the TikTok account. He said, take Caleb's pictures off of it. He said, we don't want anything to do with any social media whatsoever.
Or you.
Well, what? I had a, at that time, I didn't have a We Are Sebastian.
I'm sorry, whose bank account's linked to the account? I just want to, there's a bank account linked to the social media. I'm a creator. I know I have a TikTok too. Whose bank account? Was it your bank account? There's a bank account.
There is no bank account attached to that.
There's nothing. So the money that has gotten, was there any money raised? I don't know. I'm asking. So now my mind's like, dude, what the heck? Was there money raised on that? On that account, Tony?
No, ma'am. There was coins that were raised that I'm assuming. I'm not a guy that understands TikTok inside and out.
Same. I'm learning it too. Yeah, so I think you have to have so much to even cash it out. That'd be something really simple for.
Okay. Allie, you're my tickety talk girl. Riddle me this. How do you have a tickety talk that's not monetized that earns money? How does that work? Does the tickety talk say, oh wow, this channel's getting, or this, I don't even know what it's called, this creator is getting a bunch of traction. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to allow people to give gifts, galaxies, roses, whatever the hell, that coins, whatever. But this creator has decided they don't want to be monetized. How does that work? That makes no damn sense.
No, doesn't happen, because I was monetized on TikTok before YouTube. I'm not anymore, and so I know for sure, because when I was monetized, it was just based on video views, and they had a creator fund. So if you got a lot of views, you might make, like, on 1 million views, I made $5. You don't make much at all. After like a couple videos made a lot of views during Idaho, I made like $100 one month, and that was the most ever. Usually I would make like $10 a month. But anyways, then now I went back in and I was looking around, because they've changed everything because of, like you said, the galaxies, the gifts, the live streams, and I am not monetized. I could go live and there will be no option to give those things.
Interesting. So if you have coins, would that mean that you are in fact monetized?
I would think so, because if I went live, you wouldn't have the option to give anything to me over there right now. Now, I do know that after like one live, it doesn't take much to get there, but yeah, I would think so.
Okay. because he's going to go on to explain a little bit more. Now, I have to say, I'm not familiar with the tickety talks, but something about this story just does not pass the sniff test. I'm trying to tell y'all the milk ain't clean. Here we go.
For you to go on your thing, screenshot, edit out whatever, like your name, whatever. But you can, that's an easy thing for you to show that you didn't cash out, just so you know.
Yeah, there's no bank account that's ever been attached.
Okay.
There is a coin balance on there. And I'll tell you what I did is when we got Sebastian's, when I ended up taking over that account because Randy didn't want it, I just changed it to my name. But what I did is there was a coin balance. And anytime I would go in anybody's lives that was doing a good job of covering Sebastian, I would buy those gifts with those coins and gift them to the creators.
Right.
But there's never been a bank account attached to it.
I didn't know we could do that. Okay, cool. I just learned something new.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know you could
buy
do that
it.
either. I thought you had to pay for those.
Yeah.
Like I've given those before because I've like added money to my account, like just messing around, and I got a whole bunch of gifts to give out, like for like the price of like a little bit. I got a whole bunch, and so I was just giving them out randomly to people. But I paid for them. Technically, I just got them for like a really good deal. They weren't given to me, and then you re-give them. I don't know though. Somebody else might know more because, like I said, I'm not monetized for live streams.
We need a tickety talk expert. Who in the chat is a tickety talk expert? I can't watch TikTok because I watch it, but I don't watch it for true crime because it's a lawless place.
Yeah, some place. It depends on what kind of true crime you're watching. If you're watching like old cases, it's a lot better.
I'm talking about current cases.
Yeah, no, no. But the old cases, there's a lot better, and or body cams and stuff like that. You can find some interesting stuff there, but no.
So is it possible that he earned, like, because he was going live on that account or or posting videos on that account, that he earned credits? And that's what he was doing? See, this is the problem. This is a really simple story. And something that you could be, it would be easily explained if you didn't talk like this,
Yeah,
this is why it doesn't make sense. This is why I'm questioning it. All right. So Nature Rocks says you can get coins when you go live on other people's lives. Like if they invite you in. Okay.
But you buy them, I think. Like that's what I've seen, where you have to pay for them and then you give them out like as you want. But I don't know. Maybe there's another way too. But I know for sure there's that way. You can buy them and then give them out.
Well, at this time, I'm going to remain skeptical about this situation because I do find it in my opinion. I mean, if you took one channel, if you had one TikTok that was for Find Caleb Harris and you built it up to whatever following you built it up to, Tony's very nonchalant, 10,000, which, let's be honest, on TikTok, it's a number, but there are people with much, much bigger, high, whatever. So couldn't you, in theory, give that TikTok back to the family completely, just hand it over and let them do what they wanted to do with it? But, in the interim, like for a couple of weeks, let people know that you're moving over to this TikTok. Yes, you could have. It just doesn't look good that you did it that way. That's the problem.
I agree.
It doesn't look good.
If you're running a social media account for a family, I'm not an advocate. I don't claim to be. I don't know anything about it, but I would think that if I started a social media account for a particular case and for a particular family to bring awareness, if I walked away from the case, I wouldn't take the account. The account was built, like, I don't, that's just me then.
It's not like a Facebook group, right? Where you build you have a private Facebook group to discuss a specific case. And then you change the name of the group because you're not talking about that case. You're talking about another one. That's not the same thing. He literally said, when I quit representing him.
Mm-hmm.
Representing him in what capacity, Tony? Because if you are I wouldn't let you represent my pet rock. I'm telling you that right now. You're doing too much in the worst kind of way.
Thing and like maybe screenshot that, Tony. That'd be just a simple thing
Yeah.
for you to be able to knock it out of there, right?
Yeah,
But I want to hop down. But I did want to say I appreciate you talking to me and answering every question I've thrown at you. I do have many more, but in the chance we don't get to have a conversation again, a lot of us, our hearts are in there for Sebastian. Some of us are in different states. Some of us are in different countries. I'm in Saskatchewan, Canada currently. What can we do with you knowing more than any of us really? What can people like myself do to be productive of this case going forward?
I would say the biggest thing you can do is just hammer your area with flyers, because we don't know where he's at.
Even like across all borders too, right?
It doesn't matter. Canada,
Okay.
Mexico, anything
fair.
attached to the United States. I mean, I've put flyers in North Dakota, I've put them in Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota. I keep them in my truck and, all of that. So.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. If you ever want to run me debate, my email is easy to find. I'll throw it in the private chat there, but I feel we might not have another conversation because a lot of people will tell you not to talk to me, as you probably know and probably already been told. So I do appreciate you having a civil conversation with me. Appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Walking right into the lion's den. You sure did. So
no worries.
Credit there. Thanks, Tony. Thank you,
Thank you,
Brittany.
ma'am.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you. Okay, I just want to show you some of these, Tony, because this is just at least so you can see what I was talking. Where the screenshot.
I can't see
share.
that, Brittany.
I can't
I'm
see
sorry,
that.
I'm on
Right.
the
I don't
phone.
know how I can
I'm
make it
on the
any
phone.
bigger.
Like
I
he
would-
doesn't know what it is. Come on. Oh my God.
Right.
Again.
Like you don't have a copy of this. First of all, this is just a pro tip for anybody that's ever on a panel from their phone. Okay. You don't even have to use the StreamYard app. Just clicking a link from YouTube will do it too. Okay. You can pinch and zoom. So he could make this bigger if he wanted to. Okay. It's not that deep, but these are your, ugh.
I'll be able to see it anyway, but are these supposedly texts?
No.
Yeah, so these are text messages and they're from.
No, this is hieroglyphics. No wonder you don't understand what it is. Are these supposed to be texts? Bruh.
I can barely see it. I think it's Kayla TikTok and
Who?
a person name. Is that Kayla TikTok, you guys? It's hard to see it.
On who dis?
But it's
What of
hold
them
on,
says Paris? Is that Paris?
it's hard to see.
It is.
I wish I could make that. I can't make it any bigger. Hold on, guys. Lord, I lost it. Hold on. They're basically, this is where they're talking about. Let me
Just give me the gist of it, Brittany.
back
Yeah.
up. They're talking about.
Just
Wow,
give him the
Tony.
gist.
Okay, so basically they're saying that
Yeah,
you,
he's aggravated.
Yeah, he's aggravated. He sat up
with
in
the
that.
purposes of taking down JLR,
Hold on, let me
Illuminati,
push.
Dolly Vision.
Let me
JF
push mute. He's significantly less. Let me move this out of the way here. He's significantly less reclined. He's now engaged. You see?
Yeah.
You got his attention
Give me the
now.
gist of it.
Give me the gist of it. Like I really don't. This is so. This is nonsense. I can't even believe I'm entertaining this. You just want to know what we know so you can know how to handle it. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, you handle it terribly.
For Justice and Barbecue Lady.
Who are those people
then-
Yeah,
again?
There was no group started with that purpose.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
One.
Let me stop you right there, Tony. This is again semantics. This is the tool of somebody who's trying to convince you of something they know is not true. It wasn't a group. It's very clear there what those were. It was a group chat. So by Tony saying, oh, there was no group started for that. No, there probably wasn't an actual group started to do that. There was a group chat to do that. That's the accusation. God, he's slicker than baby snot, I swear. Let me keep it respectful. Let me just dial it back a little bit. Excuse me.
A second. So then
Jen.
show you what people are arguing.
I'm trying, but he just
I don't even know. 'Cause
rates
I'm
my
not gonna be able to
nerve.
be able to
I've
read
seen
it up
a lot
either.
worse.
But you say that
People be a
there
lot
was no
more
group
cruel.
at all.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
I said that we had a Facebook group of creators that supported Seth, and there was 3 people in that group that after there was a big blow up where they chased down a creator's mom and all that, they got sideways with some of the other folks in the group. Again, this was all going on in a subgroup that I was not in.
So see, setting the stage. It doesn't matter what you're about to see in these screenshots, because the people who are in these screenshots, except for me, are all terrible. They chased down somebody's mama, which, as you all know, rules of the playground, we do not bring mamas and we do not bring children into it. So clearly these people that did bring the mama into it, terrible. So it does not really matter what's the contents of the screenshots, because at the end of the day, these people are terrible people who bring mamas into things, violating the rules of the playground. So please don't be worried about what's in the actual texts.
I didn't even know that this live was going on, and they had this mom on there that I guess there was some essay involved in this woman's childhood, and I mean it got crazy, and they had a falling out, and it turned into a big pissing match, and unfortunately the two ladies that were the catalyst behind.
Now, I missed this the first time I watched this, and I have to say, why did he mention that? What part of that, whatever the situation is in the past, why is that germane to the question that's being asked here? Why do we need to know that?
Yeah, it's really strange. It's just trying to throw as much like negativity and doubt and judgment on any of these people before you even get to see what's happened, is what it seems like to me.
Exactly. So you're worried, and you think what these women did is so wrongity wrong, right? And I don't know if it is or not. I don't know what they did. I wasn't there. But you decide that it's okay to bring this up as if this means anything. You're ridiculous.
Behind it. When they bounced, they tried to deflect to everybody else, but I mean they were on the ground literally digging into this woman's past, her background, her family.
Sorry, you guys. Let me let it play for a little bit, because otherwise I'm just going to get heated. They were on the ground literally digging into her past. People use the word literally too often, and literally use the word wrong. Her past is what? Buried in a fucking time capsule? Is that why they're literally on the ground digging? What the hell, bro? Let me let this play. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to stop pausing.
It was nasty. So my group was created with like-minded people that were out there supporting Seth, which is what I've done from day one. Tried to find creators that supported Seth and his team.
Right. Yeah.
And that hasn't changed. There's a reason that we are so close to Betty, because she supports Seth and his team. I tried to do the same thing on TikTok, but it got to where there was so many people that were fighting before I got there, and I didn't understand all the dynamics of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got to the point where I just you don't ever see me on a live anymore. I mean, I'll go in a chat and support somebody, but you don't see me on a live, because it just got to where it was a complete shit show.
You don't have to go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
No. That's okay, Brittany. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask this question regarding Sebastian, being that you work with Seth. And you don't have to answer it if you're not comfortable, but what do you have a theory or a main idea of how, or maybe what you think might have happened to Sebastian? Do you think he ran away?
I will tell you that I had a lot of theories in Caleb's case, because I was there from day one.
Yeah.
I have never had a theory with Sebastian. I was very late to the case. What I can tell you is what we know from law enforcement, that there was no proof that Sebastian ever walked out of that home on his own.
Yep.
And my mind goes a lot of different places when I hear that. But, if I.
And there it is.
To be fair, there's no proof he didn't.
Okay.
Hey, there's no proof he didn't walk out alone.
Listen, everybody who is a regular participant in this channel knows how much I love animals, particularly dogs and cats. Okay. And I know that dogs, can do a great many things, okay? But a dog is only as good as its handler. And I think what's happened here is that people are putting way too much stock into a dog hitting or not hitting. There are all kinds of reasons for a dog to hit or not hit. One of the reasons for a dog to hit is because there's a scent there. It's a correct hit. It can also be a false hit. Likewise, there could be a reason why the dog does not hit, because there's no scent or because they just miss it. It happens. Their dogs are not infallible, okay? And the fact of the matter is there's no evidence at all to suggest anything at this point that we as the public are aware of.
Yeah.
But what he did, that is a very passive aggressive way of pointing a finger.
Absolutely, it is. That's exactly what it is, and that's the only reason that you would say that. And not only that, let's be clear here. There is no proof he walked out. There's no proof he didn't walk out. There's no proof of anything, like you said. But at the end of the day, we do know this, and people can feel how they feel about it. Law enforcement have searched that house a dozen times, and they've done forensics. There, you can find where they've spoken out and said that. You know, I've posted it before. Chasing posted something about the forensics the other day. I'm just saying there. So if there was proof of anything, if there is, they'll be building a case. We don't,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And let me also say this, because I don't really want to get too much into the case, but this right here has irritated me, what he just said. And I will say this. There's enough interviews that have been given. And I was thinking about this today when I was in the shower. I tell y'all, all my best ideas and thoughts come when I'm in the shower. And I was thinking about an interview that Seth gave in the very beginning. And he was talking about the house. He was asked about their house. And it isn't what he said, it's what he did not say. What he said was the house was pristine as it always was. He didn't say anything about there being a heavy scent of any type of cleaning products. Now, think about that. Because remember when we were going through all of the different reports that were made when law enforcement was out at the Stout residence. Almost every person that walked into that house in the early days after Gannon was reported missing, all remarked about the scent, the cleaning product scent, that it smelled like coconut and some kind of carpet stuff or whatever, but the house smelled like cleaning product.
Yeah, I do remember them commenting on smelling it.
But yet we have yet to hear from anybody. So, all of the people that are surmising that something had occurred inside of that home, think about that when you're.
And it's not easy. And, people used to say this about Dawn and Candace, but at that time I had my opinions and my mind made up on them, and that's changed now. So if you feel how you feel now, just know your mind might change too. But it wouldn't be that easy to take someone's life and dispose of them and leave absolutely no evidence behind, where they could search your house a dozen times, and they wouldn't find anything. That is going to be very, very difficult these days. Very difficult. They go through fibers, hairs, it just wouldn't be easy, not to mention blood and what that leaves behind, even when cleaned up. I just think that, it's a lot harder than people think to get away with that stuff these days.
Exactly. And this is an excellent point. Or that he is alive, but they're gathering evidence to go get him. That is what I hope for.
Yep.
Everything is still on the table. So it's very frustrating for me when I hear people say they know. The only way that you could know is if you were there. We don't know shit. We can think, we can guess.
Yeah.
We might have a theory based on some facts, but we don't know. We don't.
Yep. You're right. And what if you're wrong? That's just where I'm at these days.
Exactly.
Little Red asked, do I ever go back to my original thought? Do I wander back to it? And yes, I do. But now I think, what if I'm wrong? And, I don't know. I think I'd rather just be on the side of not accusing or blaming people without
Exactly.
evidence.
Exactly. That kind of thing, it's reckless. Okay. Let's think about a case that most of you guys that are in here watching right now, we've talked about so much. The Gannon's case. Okay. And we all know what happened to Al on social media. He was being accused left and right. People said horrible things about that man. And he had absolutely nothing to do with it. When are we going to learn from our mistakes?
If I was right, back to my original thought, she says, but what if you're right? Well, if I would have been right, then I would hope that there would be evidence to prove that. And I also don't ever want to be on the side of an accusation that's wrong with no evidence. So I think that we really have to wait, and sometimes it's really hard, and we can get feelings about people, and we might be right and we might be wrong, but until we have evidence, I'd just rather wait.
What's the harm in waiting? What's the harm in waiting? Seriously, why does it have to be so staunchly one side or the other? Why does it have to be one? In this case, I do not understand that. There's so little facts to go on. We shouldn't be blaming anybody at this point. We shouldn't. I mean, you can think things, but to point fingers and say, so and so did such and such, I think it's irresponsible, period. And that's how I feel.
If I were to attack the mother and stepfather with no proof, it'd be no different than what's happening to me every day.
It'd be a bit. I feel like it.
Okay.
You just did that, though.
Back
in a
the
way.
milk truck up. You did just do that, but you did it in a very sneaky, smarmy, passive aggressive, I'm a fanatic kind of way. That's how you did it. That's how you did it. You did it sneaky. You did it in an underhanded way. We all know what you meant. And what's happening to you every day? What is happening to you every day, Tony? Are people accusing you of having something to do? No, not even having something to do with. Let's call it what it is. Are people accusing you of murdering your child?
Yeah.
Who's doing that to you? What are people doing that to you? I don't know. Calling out your bullshit when you try to say that what happened on TikTok was the result of somebody using an overlay. Do you know how many people were watching that be streamed live on YouTube from TikTok?
Oh,
I was. It's an insult. On the one hand, you come over here to the true crime community and you want us to look at this case. You want us to become involved in this case. And then you pull some BS like that and you think that you're going to come over here and talk about it was an overlay. Somebody set you up and we're just supposed to buy it? No.
Well, Jen, I just heard of something, and look, Sebastian was 15 years old. He played online games and stuff like that, but this does happen all the time. A young girl goes missing. She thinks she's running off with a teenage boy. She gets to where she's supposed to be meeting him, and it's a grown man. Things like this happen all the time. I also just saw a woman that was trying to get like a 10-year-old boy offline. especially if
just saw
somebody
an
is
article
vulnerable.
on Court TV. They just or Law and Crime, one of them, about a woman who is. They use psychologist in quotes, so I don't know if she is a psychologist or not. And the headline made me sick, and I didn't want to. I couldn't read anymore. I'll look into it. But anyway, so it's a psychologist that lured a 15-year-old girl for nefarious purposes. It happens all the time.
Yes, and it's very likely that could have happened. And let's hope and pray that he's alive out there somewhere. But when someone is particularly vulnerable, and you know what, he seems to be a very bright young man, but I don't, we know that autism affects their social cues and stuff. I feel like that would make you more vulnerable to potentially some kind of predator tricking you or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but this is a very passive aggressive way. And this is what you comparing people like me. What did I really say that's so harmful to you, Tony? I said that you're full of shit when you tried to say that wasn't. Look, what happened on the TikToks was nothing more than somebody not paying attention when they were going to the bathroom and being a novice at Tickety Talk. That's it, plain and simple. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think that he did it to be dirty. I think it was an accident. And I think it got blown up in the way that it did and got so huge because instead of just saying, oh my God, I wasn't paying attention, I thought that I turned my camera off. Because I can tell you from personal experience being on a phone, there are times when I've had to hit mute twice. Okay, so, he probably thought that he turned his camera off. It was an accident. It only got blown out of proportion because of the lengths that you went to try to pretend that it was something else, up to and including saying that you were involving the FBI. So now please explain to me how what I've said or anything, that's the majority of things that's what the majority of people, that's the types of things that people are saying about you. How is that in any way in the same category, even remotely, as being accused of murdering your child?
Yeah. No, it's not.
Exactly.
There's no comparison. And if, just like with Al, there were people coming forward, the same thing, neighbors, this, that, and it was all bullshit in the end. And there were so many people online completely convinced, just, so convinced, like people are with this. So with what we're seeing, we're only seeing a small picture of what the family has seen, an even smaller picture of what police might have gathered, or so we have to remember that, and we're gauging 100% of our opinion based on a very small percentage of what
information
is going on. We don't have their Google records, we don't have their phone, their GPS, his internet history. There's so much that.
And it takes a long time to go through that stuff, you guys. A long time.
It would be different.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though, because, and even for you, Jules, I feel like I can say this, because some people would say that we attack them. But if you listen to my content, to Jules, and pretty much anybody that I affiliate with, it's not even really that we're accusing them of making Sebastian disappear. It's our critique of the way that Sebastian has been treated with the words that come out of their mouth, their omission. You know what I mean? Like spanking a child on the spectrum with a belt. I have a kid who's on the spectrum. First of all, I don't think you should, that kind of punishment should be inflicted on any child. But one who's on the spectrum, the man admitted that before his foot went in the door with moving in with Katie, Sebastian had to give away the 2 favorite pets that he had. The kid started losing everything he loved the minute that Chris Proudfoot came around. So
do I think that they probably know more than what they're letting on? I would say that that's a fair opinion. Do I think that Chris is a bad guy? Absolutely, I do. And I think he's a bad guy because I have personal experience with him and I don't like him.
Well, the fact that you will admit that you think he's a bad guy, you've got some respect from me. But
You got mine too.
It took me a while,
Well,
Jules.
Jen, just like he had personal
If-
experience with Trevor, who bashed him and was so mean to him, and then Dietz has all of the messages on that live you were on, and he was so polite to him. So I'm sorry, you've proven yourself to be dishonest in these situations, and I can't believe you based on that. And if anybody missed it, like Jen mentioned in the beginning, they had already had a full conversation on the first half of this live, and he said the same thing, that him and Trevor got into it. He's had experience with him. He treated him so bad, and then Trevor released the messages, and the only person who was immature and rude was Tony, and he was absolutely disgusting to Trevor.
Yes, he was 100% disgusting. All the worst thing that Trevor did was say that Tony sounded hangry, and he sent him a meme of a Snickers. Not even a regular Snickers. The Snickers with protein.
Yeah.
So the healthy Snickers. So, you got to give, even if we deduct 5 points in the interview for the meme from Trevor's score, we have to give 2.5 of those points back because it was a protein Snickers. Number one. The only person who called names in that conversation was Tony. He called him a bitch.
Yeah. And Trevor is like, I don't know, 20 years old, and has dedicated, quit doing his channel and everything to spend more time. And look, I don't agree with the Nina interview. I could criticize whatever, but I'm just going to say, I don't think he's a bad guy, and I don't think that was appropriate. And I think he's really tried to get Sebastian's name and face out there long before it ever blew up, when it was a case that wasn't well known, wasn't bringing in the numbers. Guess who was there? Trevor. Guess who wasn't there before it was bringing in the numbers? Tony. Sorry.
Exactly. And let me say this about what Trevor did. You can tell the people that made a mistake feel bad for it. True remorse. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay. Everybody does. But true remorse comes from acknowledging what you did, apologizing for what you did, and then saying, if you had it to do all over again, you don't know if you would do it the same.
Yep.
And he didn't. He was young. He is young.
Yeah.
What he thought he was doing is he was giving what he thought was and I don't know whether she is or not. This is neither here nor there. I'm not debating whether she is or she isn't. I'm only telling you what Trevor said. He said he thought that he was giving what he thought was a victim a platform, a place to tell her story. He had no idea the long range consequences of having her on that panel. He didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I just think it's inappropriate because it reminds me of with Summer's case, when all the stuff that Don did to his sisters, or supposedly did, got brought in, and it really took the focus off of Summer and her being missing, and kind of shifted it into a whole nother conversation. I felt like that's kind of what happened there. And it's the middle of an open investigation. You know what I mean? There's
Exactly.
But, I feel like he'd probably do it differently next time. And I think a lot of people would keep doing it.
Exactly. A lot of people would be like, and so?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
In fact, on my videos where I was addressing this case, most of my commentary was on his behavior that he demonstrated to all of us to see. There wasn't much conjecture. There wasn't any accusation. It was, look, you are really presenting as a man who would be mistreating kids and women. So thank you for at least admitting that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I can't say much about Katie because unfortunately, I would have liked to have had a conversation with her, but you can't talk to her, as you've heard Seth say, without talking through Chris. And, I never.
Which is controlling.
It is. And I got to hear her in the background, but never got to have a private conversation with her. So, my opinion is that, she holds the key, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I have a strong opinion of Chris from personal experience, and it's not a good one.
Yeah. No, he's pretty well unhinged.
Okay. So this is one of those situations where, again, this is problematic. Okay. Because Chris Proudfoot's reaction came from a phone call that was recorded. I don't know whether he knew it was recorded or not, and it doesn't matter. If it came from a legitimate PI, then they probably said that, they probably let him know. But what he never thought would happen is that audio would be played on the freaking internet in front of God and everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the reaction. That's why there's beef that is what Tony is upset with. And, what is problematic here is that if you're going to be the spokesperson for the family, you need to keep your personal feelings out of it. The right way to handle that situation would be to be diplomatic. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't know Chris Proudfoot on a day-to-day. You know him on a very limited basis, and due to some fuckery that came from people that were on your quote unquote team until they weren't on your team anymore. And that's what he's reacting to, but you left that out conveniently. You didn't tell the entire story.
Yeah.
And so can you put so if I were to be the one that was asked this question, the diplomatic response would be, I think that Chris is trying to protect his wife. She's vulnerable to answering questions on a public platform like this. I highly doubt that Chris is hovering over her, sitting next to her, or when she's being interviewed by law enforcement. She does not, none of these parents owe us anything, okay? Yep. Let alone a fucking private conversation. The people that they should be talking to, need to be talking to, who can actually solve this case is law enforcement.
Yeah.
And the way that we can help is by continuing to put Sebastian's face out there. We don't need to, do any more than that.
Who the hell are we? Most of us don't even live in that area. We're not taxpayers. We have nothing to do with how their police work. Most of us don't live in the state at all. I just think that you're right. Even if we did, they don't owe us anything. They owe it to law enforcement, and that's it. And,
exactly.
And you know what? Honestly, okay, have I seen Chris, kind of have a temper and be stern, be protective? Do we know he talked about the belt? Yes, but I will say this, knowing a lot of the men in my family are real country, and that's just there is something to be said about that's kind of how men are in the South. They're very protective of their women. They are stern. Some of them will get red easy, especially if you start messing with their family and things like that. And unfortunately, because I don't agree with it, but a lot of people in the South still believe in whipping their kids with belt switches and all of that stuff, and especially back when I was a kid 30 years ago when I was 5, because I'm about to be 35 tomorrow, but yeah, or in a couple days.
I know.
But people definitely were getting whipped with that. I don't know, Bendy. I think maybe when I get back from the beach, we'll do something. I'm not sure.
All right.
But
all right. Well, let me
but
know.
Yeah, it's not that uncommon to see people, and I'm not taking up for them because
she's not taking up for him. I know what she's going to say after that. She's not taking up for Chris. She doesn't agree with spanking your children. I don't either. Okay. But what I will say is that I think that go ahead.
I was just saying it's not that uncommon.
It's not uncommon. And Allie is not saying, she's only saying what her experience, but she has said repeatedly that she does not agree with spanking children.
At all.
But that's her choice. I don't either, but that's also my choice.
Especially with a belt or something like that is sad to me. I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I got hit with the belt. Look at how I talk, you guys. I mean, come on. Let's just say what it is. I can be super spicy. I have a very sharp tongue. I know that I do. I don't typically use it on like the people in the chat. I usually save it for the criminals. But I think even Allie would agree that there's more to me than that. Yeah. Than just, saying, rat's fat kneecap and, bruh and all the other stuff that I say. There's another, and you guys have all seen that side of me too. When somebody needs help, I help. So I just feel like to point out, and I'm not talking about the belt incident. What I'm talking about is the conversation that occurred between Chris and Tony. Of course, it was a hostile conversation. Okay. The PI that was on their team, right, was alluding to something in Katie's past that's private that she didn't want out there. And the PI put it out there, Yeah. And he called her on it. And if Tony, and at the same time that's happening, Tony is trying to convince Chris and Katie to work with him too. But yet but he was part of all of that. The leaking of the call. He knew about all of it. He's messy. And then he wonders why people come at him sideways. Because you're messy.
Yeah. Okay, Bendy, I'm going to jump down in the chat,
right.
But let me say just a couple things before I go. I misspoke. I said my birthday's tomorrow. I guess
It's
I'm
not.
excited. No, it's Saturday. And
I was just going to let it go, you guys. But I just...
I guess I'm excited. And I am going to the beach, but not like far away, just like about less than an hour away. To go, I've got to spend my birthday looking at the ocean. And K-Braze has a birthday before me. So all the birthday wishes to K-Braze before me.
All the birthday wishes to K-Braze.
His is on Friday. So, all right.
Yeah.
I'm going to join the chat, but thank you for having me here. And
You're
I
welcome,
enjoyed
babe.
talking to you about it. And yeah, I'll finish. I'm going to finish listening and chatting. I'm just going to do
I'm
it
not
with
going
you
to
guys
play
in
the
chat.
whole thing. I want to get to the meat and potatoes.
Thank you guys in the chat. You guys are the best. All right, Bendy, love you. I'll talk to you from the chat.
Too.
Bye.
Hi. Thanks for coming, babe. Hold on. I think it's like almost at the end. Hold on.
But we had information that 72 hours into the case, you've heard Betty talk about it many times, that they did a 180-degree turn in their theory.
Yep. Oh, here it is. Let me rewind it. Just a scotch. All right, let's try about right here.
Within 90 days, he would have been with his father.
Correct.
Okay. See, I don't think they ever had intentions on passing him to his father or doing, just with the behavior we see. I just
Cheryl,
don't think
I'll
that was ever
have to correct you
going to
on
be a
that.
thing.
I don't
What?
have. I have to correct you on that.
Do you
Not
think they
they.
were going to give it over?
No,
I
I'm going to
think-
say not
I think
they.
Chris had every intention of giving
Yeah.
him to Seth.
I do too.
Do
Yeah.
you really?
Now you see
I
right
do.
there.
That actually
Yep.
shocks me.
You see? I mean, so you're supposed to be the spokesperson, right? And you want us to believe that you aren't doing anything messy behind the scenes, right? But you have zero problem being messy right here. You don't know what their family dynamic is. You don't know, Tony. You don't know. You met these people at the worst time of their life. Nothing about their behavior is going to be quote unquote normal because the situation isn't normal. Okay. Not knowing where your child is not normal. Okay. So their reactions to what would be normal, what would be their reactions to what we would consider normal under normal circumstances, normal situations, is not going to be the same as their reactions in this situation. But you don't think about it. All you'd rather do is continue to point fingers, but then clutching your pearls and being aghast when anybody questions you and is like, wait a minute. What do you think you're doing? I'm over it.
No, I believe that too. I don't think it's that she did not want to give custody to Chris.
Okay, that's
Or
interesting.
Not Chris, to Seth.
Especially from Tony saying that is.
And I want to be clear. The only reason why I'm playing this part of it is because I want to hear Tony's responses. Okay. These Nana and Cher are perfectly, they're entitled to their opinion. Okay. Their level of how should I put this? At the end of the day, Tony says that he represents Seth, that he is the spokesperson, which basically is tantamount to speaking for. Okay. So when he says something, it has a different level of weight to it than when the people on the panel are saying something. Okay. It's just different.
Interesting to me.
Yep. That's why I have the belief I have.
By telling me to stop, this is interesting to me. I didn't know, because I honestly thought Tony might say like, yeah, on him, but it's more so you're leaning more Katie definitely knows maybe a little more than Chris.
But you can understand now why I'm very adamant that I don't generally get involved or comment on the case itself, because it's
I see.
Everything you say can be taken out of context.
Everything.
Can be.
Oh yeah, tomorrow they'll be like,
how is that taken out of context? How is what you just said and people saying that you are low-key either throwing, in some situations you're throwing shade, or you're outright shady, accusing. You're making shady accusations, low-key accusations, subtle digs, innuendo. How am I or anybody else with ears that's listening to this taking anything that you've said out of context? No, what it is you say what you want, and then when you get then you get a reaction from people when they don't like it, and then you try to walk it back and you make it worse. But you do talk about the case, you do talk about Chris and Katie, you just did. Get out of here, bro. I'm over it.
Tony accuse so-and-so, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah. See, I'm not even thinking about that.
It's an opinion. It's what you feel in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you're accusing someone.
Okay. I cannot stress this enough, and I don't understand why it's not sinking in. Okay. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't think we need that's not up for debate. Okay. But when you are the representative of one of the parents in this case, and you say things like that, it takes on a different meaning and it has more weight to it. Okay. Why is that? Because he has different knowledge, inside knowledge, if you will, right? Of things that us regular folk out here on these YouTube streets wouldn't actually have, because he, as he said many times in this live, has a very deep friendship with Seth. They are like brothers. Okay. So when Tony says something, it carries more weight, period. Tired of it, man. Take responsibility, Tony. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. You wanted the crown, now wear it.
It's your opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion.
I don't think no matter what we say, like you see tonight, like I can't please them all, but I can piss them all off at the same time. Type of thing. So,
oh, thank
We
you.
meet
for-
on Wednesday, Cher.
Holly,
yeah, we do that.
Holly, I love you. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, Tony. This is one that Seth told me that I'm a little mind blown about. Sebastian was reported as a runaway.
I'm not going to entertain that. He falls off and then he comes back. Hold on.
All right. Well, guys, I think that's about.
Hold on. I'm trying to find where he said what he said about the texts. Oh, here's the short-term girlfriend that he called Michaela. Now they're GoFundMe, blah, blah, blah. Well, I can't find it. Okay, but basically what Tony said is that he wasn't going to say that he didn't type every single thing in those text messages. What he will say is they're probably taken out of context, something to that effect. So that's basically all I have for you guys. That's all I really wanted to point out is that when you choose to become a representative of a somebody involved in a crime, how do I put this? Because when you decide to represent somebody whose loved one has either been murdered or they are missing, and you start going on, your YouTube press junket tour, okay, panel hopping from here, there, and everywhere, you have to be very careful what you say. You have to be responsible with the things that you put out there. It's one thing, and what I'm saying, I would not, for me personally, I don't have enough information to say anything that happened, let alone who did it. If anything did, I don't know. We don't have that evidence. Okay. But when you're up there as a spokesperson for a victim's father, right? For a missing child's father, I don't want to say victim because I don't want to put that out in the universe. When you're up there speaking for a missing child's father, and you start saying things and you start giving opinions and you start pointing fingers and making accusations, no matter how low key they are, no matter how much innuendo, and you try to protect, you hint at it, but you don't come right out and say it with your chest, whatever. Okay. It doesn't, at the end of the day, your level of, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility, yes, it's to the person that you're quote unquote representing, right? But the bigger responsibility is to Sebastian. He's the one who's missing. And all you're doing is putting stuff out there that takes the focus off of where the focus needs to be, which is Sebastian, not you, Tony. And that's why people say the things that they say about you. But nobody has accused you of the things that Chris and Katie have been accused of. Okay? And I know that you like Bullhorn Betty, and you're pleased as punch at the way that she is handling this case. But I don't understand how you, with any type of good conscience, can be behind that disgusting thumbnail. And y'all, it takes a lot to get me to even reach for the pearls, let alone clutch them. Okay. You really have to do something. I'm way too jaded. I've been on these streets, not as a creator, but just watching for far too long. It takes a lot. But that thumbnail was unacceptable. And the fact that you're associating with somebody that thinks that that's okay. Not only are you associating, but you are backpatting, clapping, and saying how much you guys just love Bullhorn Betty. She's like a sister from another mister. You and Bullhorn Betty and Seth are arm in arm skipping down the street singing songs. It's fan-fucking-tastic over there. But what you're not thinking about, what you don't seem aware of, what you don't seem to care about, and the fact that you're not cognizant of these things, the fact that you can't think of these things before they happen, tells me that you're not suited for this position. Not on this case anyway, because you're making things worse. You're making things worse. It was, yeah, just exactly what Allie said. It was blood all over her and blood all over the walls. And the title of it was, Did Katie Do the Unthinkable? And that is who the spokesperson for Sebastian's father is recommending to people. Get your knowledge from her. She knows everything that's going on. She's doing fantastic. We just adore her. It's disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself, Tony. Really, you should. Like, I feel like I'm somebody's Meemaw right now, just standing over them, wagging my finger. I can't believe that you would do something like this and think that it's okay. And then have the unmitigated gall to stand back with your jaw on the floor and wonder how people might have an issue with you and what you're doing. You really think that people are upset because you took Seth away from talking to people on YouTube? You really think that's what people don't like? There's probably a few who don't like that. But I assure you, because I've been in a lot of chats all over these streets, by and large, the real issue is the dirty things that you do behind the scenes and the crazy stuff that comes out of your mouth, you shady motherfucker. All right, that's all I have to say, you guys. I'm done. I've had enough. All right. I want to thank you for being here tonight, you guys. If you haven't, give your girl a thumbs up. I'm sure I'm going to get a rash of shit in the comments. It's fine. But I'm going to play the intro and bid you guys a fond farewell. And I will see you guys tomorrow night at some point. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about something that's not Tony. Thank you guys for being here. Again, thank you, Allie, so much for being on panel with me and encouraging me to get up here and run my mouth. I needed to get this off my chest. And I hope that you guys all have a great rest of your night. Bye.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do. Well, fuck you.
No malicious intent or effort was towards it.
No malicious. Finish her.
2 minutes later.
We all do a little math sometimes.